Alright guys, Dominic here for Kit Guru, and there's no getting around the fact that for over the last decade, the PC component industry has wholeheartedly embraced the RGB all the things mindset. But not so for the PC Specialist Falcon Pro, as this pre-built is different. No LEDs, no colour at all, just the high-end hardware you want in a stealthy and understated package. Let's take a closer look at this pre-built machine. So to cut right to the chase then, the PC Specialist Falcon Pro is one of the company's next day systems, meaning it's been pre-configured so you can't adjust the spec, but it is already pre-built so it can even ship out to you next day, as the name suggests. For £2,599, this system includes a Ryzen 9 9900X3D, RTX 5070 Ti, and 32GB of RAM, which is not bad in this economy. It's certainly got a lot going for it on paper, but let's take a closer look and see exactly whether or not this machine is worth buying. First up then, it is worth making clear that the Falcon Pro using Fractal's North XL Momentum Edition case does indeed come with a tempered glass side panel, but for the sake of reflections, I've removed it for B-roll here. You can also see just what a minimalistic build this is. This is the system turned off, and then with it turned on, there's only one or two indicator LEDs on the motherboard itself, so definitely no RGB, no nothing. Starting off with the CPU then, this is AMD's Ryzen 9 9900X3D, a 12-core, 24-thread part, and of course it does come with that precious 3D V-cache technology. The fact that PC Specialist isn't using the 8-core 9800X3D or the 9850X3D suggests to me that the Falcon Pro is meant for more than just gaming, but we will talk a little bit more about that later on in the video. Handling cooling duties is the Arctic Liquid Freezer 3 Pro, obviously not the ARGB version, and that's got 320mm fans on the AIO in the roof, all set to exhaust. There's also another 3 140mm Fractal case fans intaking at the front, and PC Specialist has added a single 120mm exhaust at the rear as well. Next to that all-in-one as well, we get a look at the Corsair Vengeance DDR5 memory. Again, no lighting, nothing fancy, just the clean dark grey heat spreaders. This is a 32GB kit at 6000 mega transfers and it's CL30 timing, so pretty good going there, and bandwidth is about as expected in our AIDA64 test. Below that we have the GPU, a Gigabyte 5070 Ti Windforce OC V2. Now I've not reviewed this specific model, but I do generally like the 5070 Ti. It's great to have 16 gigs of VRAM, and of course it gets you on the latest Blackwell architecture with access to all of Nvidia's DLSS and RTX features. This particular model is also factory overclocked, but only by 15 MHz, so it's barely worth mentioning. Now, hidden under the GPU in the built-in motherboard heatsink is the only SSD in the system, a 2TB Crucial P310. This is arguably the weakest part of the spec, not because it's only 2TB or only Gen 4, because it's a DRAMless QLC drive, so speeds do drop off once the SLC cache is exhausted. For instance, here are the read and write speeds I saw when the drive was empty, and here is the same test but with the drive filled about halfway. Now for gaming, it's really not something I noticed, but if you're planning on using the Falcon Pro for maybe some intense 4K video editing, it could be something to keep in mind. All of that hardware then is plugged into the Gigabyte B850 Aorus Elite Wi-Fi 7 motherboard. We've not reviewed this specific model, but it's been rock solid in my testing, plus PC Specialist shipped it with a recent BIOS and Expo is enabled out of the box, so I can't really complain. Powering the system as well is the Corsair RM750E, a generally solid gold-rated PSU. We reviewed the 1000-watt model and like that, but haven't reviewed this particular 750-watt before. The thing about this power supply though is about a year ago, Corsair became aware of some reports around a strange clicking noise coming from the RME series of power supplies. Now they said it's not harmful at all, but it does generally happen under lower loads. As it turns out, my unit was affected by this issue and I have recorded a quick sound test so you can hear it for yourself. Of course, I did reach out to PC Specialist about this and let them know, and they are aware of the issue and they are replacing any unit that is found to be clicking. Understandably, they are testing a lot of units at once, so it's not always going to be possible to hear the clicking noise, but this is going to be something covered under warranty. So I don't think it's a big deal, but if you do have a power supply that is exhibiting this clicking noise, just reach out to PC Specialist and they'll get it sorted for you. Just before moving on though, there are a couple of other oddities I wanted to mention, including the fact that the rear fan cable has actually been routed downwards and it's zip tied to the front panel USB header. That does leave a fair chunk of the cable trailing across the expansion slot brackets, which is definitely unsightly. It's hardly a big deal, but why it wasn't routed up and out by the EPS power connectors, I have no idea. The other thing I want to mention is the GPU support bracket. Now, in theory, this is a good idea as it does help prevent any sag from the graphics card, but that does mean it's actually blocking one of the cutouts in the PSU shroud where you usually route the GPU power cable. As a result, the 12V high power is also routed upwards and out the same grommet as the 24-pin motherboard cable. Again, hardly a big deal, but it is just a little bit ugly. That being said, rear cable management is absolutely flawless. There's no way I would do even close to as good a job as this, so that is really good to see. It's just those couple of minor quirks around the front. Next up then, it's time to move on and look at CPU and GPU behaviour, starting first with the CPU when we're looping Cinebench 2026. This saw the 9900X3D pulling about 160 watts constantly, with clock speed around 5 to 5.1 GHz. Thermals were impressively low too, with the CPU reaching steady state at around 67 degrees after a 30-minute loop. Now in gaming, where we're running Cyberpunk 2077, things look even better, with the CPU barely in the mid 50 degree range, whereas clock speed was more like 5.3 GHz now, and package power came in around 110 watts. As for the GPU, the 5070 Ti was reporting around 72 degrees in terms of its thermals, and then 84 degrees for the memory, which is fine, while it was clocking a little under 2.8 GHz. We also saw total power being reported right around the 300 watt mark, which is what we'd expect for a GPU like this. However, the thing about those thermal results is I'd definitely say the system is louder than I would like, particularly when running an all-core CPU workload, but here's a sound test to listen for yourself. Based on those noise tests then, and the fact that there is plenty of thermal headroom, I would really like to see PCSpecialist incorporating a custom fan curve. I did look in the BIOS and they're just using the bog standard normal curve, but there is clearly plenty of room for fine tuning. At the very least, thermal performance, as we saw, is very good, and we did see the same exact thing when using our thermal imaging camera too. The hottest zone was the GPU as we'd expect, but there were no worrying hotspots across the motherboard or anything like that. Next up then, it's time to talk about our game benchmarks, and here I'm testing 5 different titles, all at 1440p and 4K resolutions. However, I am going to be testing each game slightly differently, just depending on what the title needs. So in some instances, I'm enabling DLSS super resolution, in others I'm not, and then I'm also going to try frame generation and even path tracing in a couple of games where I feel it's needed, just to give you sort of a big picture overview of the sort of performance that a machine like this can achieve. Starting off then with Cyberpunk at 1440p, we've got ultra settings and native TAA on the left, running right around 100 FPS. However, on the right, I've also put ray tracing onto ultra and engaged DLSS super resolution quality mode. This still plays very smoothly in the mid 80s or so, plus you do get the extra visual eye candy with ray tracing enabled. 4K is obviously a much sterner test, with performance dropping down to below 50 FPS with ray tracing engaged, even with DLSS quality. As a result, you may want to enable multi-frame gen, shown here at the 4x mode. Now, I have spoken in previous videos that this does increase latency, so there is always a trade-off, but the increased visual fluidity could be worth it for you. Next up though is Call of Duty Black Ops 7, and here we're running 1440p native next to 1440p DLSS quality, and in both instances I'm using the basic preset to maximize FPS, given this is a first-person shooter. Whichever option you choose, you are going to get very high frame rates. DLSS quality I think looks very good to my eye at over 200 FPS though, and both offer superb frame time consistency as well. Even at 4K, you're almost always getting over 100 FPS at native, but DLSS quality can boost that well up to over 180, sometimes 190 FPS, though it obviously drops lower at times, depending on the exact area in the benchmark. Next up, we have Doom: The Dark Ages, and I wanted to use this as a path tracing example. At 1440p, if you're running native resolution with path tracing enabled, well, good luck with that. It's not even hitting 30 FPS. DLSS balance mode will give that a healthy boost with over double the frame rate, but you may also want to consider MFG 4X again, bringing frame rates up to around the 180 FPS mark, though do remember the latency penalty. Up at 4K resolution, MFG really does become kind of a must, as without it we're only just above 30 FPS, and that is using balanced super resolution quality mode. MFG brings the frame rate up to and over 100 FPS, sometimes even higher, so that shows what the technology can do if you are happy to use it. Next up though, we have Forza Horizon 5 running at well over 160 FPS at 1440p using the Extreme preset with DLAA. You can even whack on ray trace reflections and it barely drops the frame rate, and how pristine does this game still look in 2026? 4K isn't actually that much more demanding either, as without ray tracing we're typically in the 120 FPS zone, and even with RT enabled, frame rates don't really drop that much. And remember, this is all at native resolution, no DLSS or framegen or anything like that. Lastly then, we come to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, another title without ray tracing or framegen. Here you can play at 1440p ultra settings using DLAA and sit just below 100 FPS, or you can whack on DLSS quality mode and boost that by another 20 to 30 FPS depending on your preferences. Even 4K resolution is not too shabby at native res, sitting in the low to mid 50 FPS range, but here DLSS quality does show its worth and boost things up to closer to 80 frames per second, so I'd definitely turn that on if it were me. Just before we close though, I did say I wanted to take a look at some more professional or workflow oriented benchmarks, as the Falcon Pro does appear to be aimed at people who want to do work and play rather than just gaming. To do that, I've taken some of Leo's benchmarks from his recent Core 270 Ultra Plus review, and I've just plugged in data from the Falcon Pro, starting off with Cinebench 2026 Multicore. Here we can see the Falcon Pro scoring just over 7,500 points, which places it between the 250k plus and the 14900K, but obviously puts it well above the 8-core 9850 X3D. I also tried the 7-zip benchmark, and that seems even more favourable to the 9900 X3D, although do note that the test platforms are obviously different, so this is just to give an idea of performance rather than an exact comparison to Leo's data. Finally, I ran through all three tests in the Blender benchmark, first on the CPU and then on the GPU as well, with the samples per minute shown here if that's relevant to your workflow. To wrap up this video then, it is worth taking a look at the value proposition of the Falcon Pro, and as a reminder, PC Specialist is selling this as a pre-built, pre-configured machine for £2,599, and that does include their standard warranty, where you get 6 months collect and return, 1 year parts coverage and 3 years labour. Speccing up as close of a system as possible on PC Part Picker, I came to a total of £2,450, and that does include a Windows 11 licence. That means we're looking at around a £150 markup for the Falcon Pro over DIY pricing, which I really don't think is unreasonable considering it's already been built and shipped to you, and it could even arrive the next working day. Now, for the money, there's a few areas I'd have liked to see improved. We already mentioned a couple of those cable management oddities, which are a little bit ugly, but not deal breakers. But primarily, I really think a custom fan curve would have helped a lot. Out of the box, the system is just a little bit too loud, which, considering there's plenty of thermal headroom, a custom fan curve would have really helped. Generally though, it's a solid PC. I personally really like the stealthy approach, while the 12-core CPU is great for gaming while also being an option if you want to do anything work related on it as well. The only other snag of that approach is the crucial P310, which, as we mentioned, is a DRAM-less QLC based design, so speeds really do slow down once it exhausts its cache, which would be another area to improve. But overall, if you want a PC that's generally well balanced and can arrive very quickly without you needing to do anything other than pay for it, I'd definitely say the PC Specialist Falcon Pro is worth a look. And that brings us to the end of the video, guys, so if you liked it, please do toss me a thumbs up, and as always, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Please do subscribe if you haven't already, and be sure to ding that notification bell so you don't miss when we upload a new video. If you want to carry on the conversation as well, you can find a link to our Discord server down in the description, and while you're there, you'll also find links to both our merch store and our Patreon. That's it for this one though, guys. I'm Dominic the Kit Guru, and I'll see you in the next video.